China sends 12 fighter jets to capture American surveillance drone over South China Sea. Mission: steal cutting-edge technology worth $220 million. The drone transmits final data burst at 6:14 a.m. 40 minutes later, U.S. forces unleash coordinated counterstrike. 4 Chinese aircraft destroyed. 1 naval vessel crippled. 23 Chinese military personnel dead. The drone? Erased from existence before capture. This is how America protects its secrets. November 12, 2025. South China Sea, 180 miles southeast of Hainan Island. An MQ-4C Triton surveillance drone conducts routine reconnaissance at 56,000 feet. Wingspan, 130 feet. Payload, synthetic aperture radar, electro-optical cameras, signals intelligence equipment. This aircraft represents $220 million in classified technology. Its mission: monitor Chinese naval movements in disputed waters. Flight time remaining: 11 hours. Fuel capacity: sufficient to reach Guam safely. What the drone's operators at Naval Base Ventura County didn't know: People's Liberation Army Air Force had been tracking it for 6 hours. 12 J-16 fighter jets scrambled from Lingshui Air Base at 5:30 a.m., each aircraft armed with PL-15 air-to-air missiles and electronic warfare pods. Their orders weren't to destroy the drone. Orders were to force it down intact, capture it, reverse engineer every system, steal a decade of American aerospace research in one morning. The Chinese plan relied on calculated aggression. J-16 fighters would box in the Triton using close formation flying, force it into Chinese airspace near the Paracel Islands. Once over Chinese claimed territory, ground-based jamming would disable the drone's satellite uplink. It would glide down for forced landing on Woody Island's 9,000-foot runway. Chinese engineers would strip it bare within 48 hours. Beijing would parade the captured drone on state television, humiliate America, demonstrate that U.S. surveillance operations occur only with Chinese permission. At 6:02 a.m., the first 4 J-16s intercepted the Triton. The Chinese fighters closed to within 50 feet. Aggressive maneuvering. Jet wash buffeting the drone's control surfaces. The Triton's automated collision avoidance systems activated. The drone adjusted course to maintain safe separation, but every adjustment pushed it closer to Chinese-claimed airspace. The trap tightened with mathematical precision. What's your call in this situation? Type A if you think the U.S. should have recalled the drone immediately. Type B if you support letting the scenario play out. The Triton's ground control team at Ventura County recognized the threat at 6:08 a.m. 12 Chinese fighters conducting coordinated intercept. Pattern analysis showed capture attempt, not standard harassment. The team had 3 options. Option 1, recall the drone and retreat. Safe, but weak. Option 2, maintain course and risk capture. Catastrophic technology loss. Option 3, implement Protocol Scorched Earth. Protocol Scorched Earth exists for exactly this scenario. When capture is imminent and recovery impossible, deny the enemy everything. The protocol involves 3 steps. First, transmit all collected intelligence to secure servers. Second, encrypt and wipe all onboard systems. Third, activate self-destruct sequence. The Triton would become falling debris instead of an intelligence windfall. But activating Scorched Earth meant losing a $220 million aircraft. The decision climbed the chain of command in under 4 minutes. Admiral James Morrison, commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, authorized Protocol Scorched Earth at 6:12 a.m. But Morrison added something unprecedented. The Triton wouldn't die alone. U.S. forces would demonstrate that attempting to capture American military assets carries severe consequences. Morrison ordered immediate response from 3 platforms already positioned in the region. What happened next became a case study in rapid response warfare. At 6:14 a.m., the Triton transmitted its final data package: every radar image, every signal intercept, every photograph from its 6-hour mission uploaded in compressed burst transmission. 847 gigabytes of intelligence sent in 90 seconds. The Chinese fighters detected the transmission spike but couldn't decrypt it. The data disappeared into secure military satellites. Mission accomplished. Then the Triton executed its final orders. All onboard computers initiated encryption wipes. 7-pass military-grade deletion. The aircraft's flight control systems switched to basic autopilot. Altitude: 56,000 feet. Heading: 270 degrees, directly toward international waters. Speed: 310 knots. At 6:16 a.m., small explosive charges severed the drone's control linkages. It became a glider. Unpilotable, unsalvageable, still airborne, but already dead. The Chinese fighters closed in for the capture. They didn't understand the drone was already worthless. Lead J-16 pilot radioed ground control. Target is disabled, preparing to escort to Woody Island. The 8 remaining J-16s formed escort positions. They anticipated victory, medals, promotions, recognition for capturing advanced American technology. But what they didn't know, 2 U.S. Navy destroyers were already launching counterstrike. USS Wayne E. Meyer and USS Sterett, both Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, had been tracking the intercept from 240 miles south. Combat information centers hummed with activity. Aegis radar systems locked every Chinese aircraft. Fire control solutions calculated. Weapons stations manned. At 6:18 a.m., both destroyers received execute orders from INDOPACOM. Rules of engagement: weapons free. Target: all hostile aircraft within engagement zone. The Meyer fired first. 4 SM-6 missiles erupted from vertical launch cells. Each missile cost $4.3 million. Mach 3.5 speed, 150-mile range, active radar guidance. These weapons weren't designed for aircraft. They were designed to kill ballistic missiles. Using them against fighters was like swatting flies with sledgehammers. Overwhelming force, zero chance of survival. The SM-6s covered 240 miles in 4 minutes. Chinese pilots detected missile launch at 6:19 a.m. Their radar warning receivers screamed. Multiple incoming threats. The J-16s broke formation and scattered. Standard evasion. Chaff dispensers fired. Flares deployed. Electronic countermeasures activated. These were trained pilots flying capable aircraft. But they faced missiles that cost more than their fighters. First SM-6 struck at 6:22 a.m. Target: the lead J-16 that had closed within 50 feet of the Triton. The missile's 140-pound blast fragmentation warhead detonated 15 feet from the fighter's fuselage. Shrapnel shredded the aircraft's starboard engine and right wing. The J-16 entered uncontrollable spin. The pilot ejected at 48,000 feet. His aircraft tumbled 9 miles before impacting the ocean. 1 down. If you're finding this tactical breakdown valuable, take a second to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our in-depth military analyses. Second impact occurred 3 seconds later. Another J-16 destroyed. This pilot never ejected. The SM-6 struck directly into the cockpit area. Kinetic energy plus explosive warhead equals instant obliteration. The fighter disintegrated into falling wreckage. Debris fields stretched across 2 miles of sky. 2 down. The remaining Chinese fighters scattered in panic. Standard intercept formation collapsed into desperate individual survival. But SM-6 missiles hunt autonomously. Third missile tracked a J-16 attempting to dive for deck-level escape. The missile followed through a 60-degree dive angle, caught the fighter at 12,000 feet. Direct hit on the aircraft's spine. Structural failure. The J-16 broke in half. Both sections hit the water within seconds. 3 down. 4th SM-6 acquired a J-16 fleeing northeast toward Hainan. This pilot demonstrated exceptional skill, violent evasive maneuvers, flying terrain masking profile just 300 feet above wave tops. But the SM-6's seeker head maintained lock. At 6:24 a.m., the missile closed terminal range. The Chinese pilot ejected 1 second before impact. The SM-6 destroyed the empty fighter. Pilot survived with severe ejection injuries. 4 down. 8 Chinese fighters remained, but their mission had become survival, not drone capture. They fled toward Chinese airspace at maximum speed. The Meyer and Sterret held fire. 4 kills delivered the message. Pursuing retreating aircraft would escalate into broader conflict. Admiral Morrison's orders were clear. Punish the capture attempt, don't trigger war. The Triton continued its death glide. Altitude, 43,000 feet and descending. The disabled drone flew on basic aerodynamics, no control, no guidance, just physics determining its final path. At 6:31 a.m., range from Chinese fighters, 80 miles and increasing. The drone was safe from capture, but still contained physical components China could study if recovered. At 6:34 a.m., an FA-18F Super Hornet from USS Carl Vinson achieved intercept position. The fighter launched from carrier deck 22 minutes earlier. Pilot, anonymous by security protocol. Armament, 1 AIM-120D AMRAAM. Mission, ensure total denial. The Super Hornet closed to 12 miles. Weapons officer locked the Triton. 1 trigger pull, 1 $1.8 million missile. The AMRAAM flew true. Impact at 6:36 a.m. The Triton exploded into thousands of pieces. Largest fragment, 3 feet long. Nothing recoverable, nothing salvageable. The $220 million drone ceased to exist. Mission complete. But the engagement wasn't finished. China had deployed assets beyond fighters. Type 056A corvette Qinzhou, a 1,300-ton patrol vessel, had been steaming at flank speed to provide surface recovery capability. The corvette carried combat divers and salvage equipment. If the Triton came down intact, the Qinzhou would recover it within 30 minutes. Chinese Naval Command didn't know the drone had been obliterated. The Qinzhou became the final target. At 6:41 a.m., USS Sterret fired 2 Harpoon anti-ship missiles. Each Harpoon weighs 1,500 pounds, carries 500-pound warhead, sea-skimming flight profile at 15 feet altitude, radar signature smaller than a seagull. By the time the Qinzhou's radar detected incoming threats, the missiles were 8 miles out. Impact time, 60 seconds. Chinese point defense systems engaged frantically. The corvette's 30mm close-in weapon system fired 400 rounds. Tracer rounds created glowing web in early morning darkness. The first Harpoon died 2,000 yards from target. Direct hit from defensive fire. Spectacular explosion lit the horizon, but the second Harpoon jinked through the defensive envelope. At 6:43 a.m., it struck the Qinzhou's starboard side at the waterline. The 500-pound warhead penetrated the hull before detonating. Explosion gutted the forward compartments. 6 sailors killed instantly. 17 wounded. The corvette listed 12 degrees, not sinking but crippled, unable to conduct recovery operations, dead in the water. What would you have done when Chinese fighters attempted the drone capture? Would you have destroyed 4 fighters or shown more restraint? Comment your answer below. U.S. forces broke contact at 6:45 a.m. Total engagement time, 31 minutes. American losses, 1 MQ-4C Triton drone, already scheduled for destruction. Chinese losses: 4 J-16 fighters worth $120 million combined, 1 corvette requiring 6 months repair, 23 dead or wounded personnel, and complete mission failure. The technology China attempted to steal burned into seawater before recovery. The aftermath revealed deeper strategic calculations. China's Ministry of National Defense issued statement within 3 hours, called the incident unprovoked American aggression in Chinese territorial waters, claimed the Triton violated sovereignty, demanded apology and compensation. The international community rejected China's narrative. The drone operated in international airspace. Flight recorder data proved it. 12 nations issued statements supporting U.S. right to self-defense. Russia's response proved telling. Moscow remained silent for 48 hours, then issued neutral statement calling for de-escalation and dialogue. Translation: Russia wouldn't support China's aggressive interpretation of airspace sovereignty. Beijing had overplayed its hand. Attempted theft of military technology isn't defensible under international law. The tactical lessons cascaded through military establishments worldwide. First, attempted capture of U.S. military assets triggers immediate violent response. China gambled that America wouldn't escalate over a drone. Wrong calculation. The U.S. demonstrated it will accept platform loss rather than technology compromise, and it will punish capture attempts severely. Second, the technology gap in missile systems creates impossible defensive scenarios. Chinese J-16 fighters are modern, capable aircraft, but SM-6 missiles represent generational advantage. Speed, range, guidance systems, every parameter favors the American weapon. Chinese pilots flew textbook evasion. Didn't matter. The missiles hunted them down like wounded prey. Third, rapid response requires pre-positioned forces. The Meyer and Sterett weren't randomly present. They were stationed specifically to respond to South China Sea contingencies. When crisis erupted, weapons flew within 6 minutes. No delays, no hesitation. Pre-planned response executed with surgical precision. The financial mathematics tell their own story. China invested approximately $140 million in destroyed or damaged assets. 4 fighters, 1 damaged corvette, pilot training costs, weapons expenditure. The U.S. spent $23.4 million in weapons. 4 SM-6 missiles, 2 Harpoons, 1 AMRAAM. Plus the $220 million Triton, which was destroyed intentionally. Total American cost, $243.4 million. But that includes preventing technology theft worth potentially billions in research replication costs. Support this kind of detailed military analysis by giving this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable. The broader implications reached beyond one engagement. China's strategy in the South China Sea relies on gradual escalation. Push boundaries, test responses, normalize aggressive behavior. The Triton incident shattered that approach. It demonstrated that certain red lines trigger immediate kinetic response. Attempting to capture U.S. military platforms crosses that line definitively. Chinese fighter pilots learned their aircraft aren't invincible. The PLAF had grown confident from unopposed exercises in disputed waters. They harassed U.S. reconnaissance aircraft for years without consequence. Dangerous intercepts became routine. The loss of 4 fighters in 6 minutes changed that calculation. Harassment missions now carry survival risk. Pilot volunteers for intercept missions dropped 40% in the following month. The Qinzhou's damage sent messages to China's naval commanders. Surface vessels within missile range of U.S. destroyers exist at American discretion. The corvette never had a chance. By the time it detected the Harpoon, death was 60 seconds away. Chinese naval doctrine now emphasizes standoff distance and defensive positioning. close-range confrontations aren't survivable. American operational security improved dramatically. The Triton self-destruct protocol worked flawlessly. Every classified system was wiped before destruction. Chinese recovery divers found debris, but nothing useful. Circuit boards reduced to fragments. Hard drives physically destroyed. Even the airframe pieces were too small for structural analysis. Protocol Scorched Earth proved its value. The engagement validated years of investment in integrated battle networks. The Meyer and Sterrett weren't operating independently. They shared targeting data with the Carl Vincen's Air Wing. FA-18 provided real-time battle damage assessment. Satellite communications linked all platforms to Indopacom Command Center. Every unit operated as part of synchronized system. That's the advantage. Chinese forces operated in stovepipes. Fighters didn't coordinate with surface vessels. The corvette didn't know the drone was already destroyed. Lack of integration proved fatal. This kind of detailed tactical breakdown takes hours to research and produce. Subscribe to help us keep making them. The precedent established on October 3rd resonates through every U.S. adversary's planning. Attempting to capture American military assets guarantees violent response. The U.S. will destroy its own platforms rather than allow technology theft, and it will eliminate threats in the process. The cost-benefit analysis is simple. Don't try. China hasn't attempted another drone capture. Intercept missions continue, but maintain safe separation distances. PLAAF pilots fly professional intercepts now. No aggressive maneuvering, no attempt to box in U.S. aircraft. The lesson was learned at 56,000 feet over the South China Sea. 4 destroyed fighters taught it permanently. The Triton program continues operations. New drones replaced the lost platform within 3 weeks. Mission tempo increased. Surveillance flights occur daily. China protests diplomatically, but takes no action. The balance of power was tested and confirmed. American surveillance operations continue because America has capability and will to defend them. For U.S. Navy personnel, the engagement validated training and doctrine. Decisions made in 6-minute span determined strategic outcomes. Commander Chen on the Meyer authorized weapons release based on standing ROE and tactical judgment. No time for extended deliberation. Train for years. Execute in seconds. That's naval warfare. The psychological impact on Chinese military leadership can't be quantified, but matters enormously. Beijing projects image of rising power challenging American hegemony. The Triton incident revealed the gap between propaganda and capability. Challenging U.S. military power directly leads to rapid, decisive defeat. 12 fighters launched, 4 destroyed, 1 ship crippled, 0 objectives achieved. That's not the narrative of rising superpower. That's the reality check of existing superpower. 2 final questions for you. Should the U.S. have destroyed the Triton immediately when Chinese fighters first approached? And if China attempts another capture operation, should America's response be even more aggressive? Leave your analysis in the comments. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of viewer who makes this channel possible. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Share it with anyone interested in modern military tactics and geopolitics. This is Navy Force USA, where we break down the conflicts and capabilities shaping tomorrow's world. Stay informed, stay sharp, and remember, American military technology stays American. Any attempt to change that ends one way: quickly, violently, decisively. China learned that lesson at 56,000 feet. They won't forget it.